Now we have the Detroit Lions with Chris Palmer at head coach. I thought that Chris Palmer was going to essentially either ruin the Lions or the Lions were going to ruin him. But he has had every year a better record. Maybe recently he's getting that 10 plus wins now in the past 3 years, largely due to 2006 third round pick Brodie Croyle at quarterback. Despite being a lowly 66 overall, I am shocked at the clutch that Croyle has. He has come through in so many 2-minute drills to win games for Detroit that got them into the playoffs. He has yet to win a playoff game. He's struggling in the playoffs. But at least he gets Detroit there. Tyler Thigpen, who was drafted in 2007 in the 5th round, is the backup. A large part of this team's success is Reggie Bush. He is a driver of this team, and he's not necessarily the guy that's running all over the teams, but he is a huge receiving option for them. And him and Danny Woodhead. Believe it or not, this team is a pass-first offense, largely due to Reggie Bush, because he is the receiver that is coming out of the backfield, coming up with first downs and long plays. Donnie Avery and Laurent Robinson and Armonte Edwards and Andre Davis wrap up the wide receivers for Detroit. And they finally move on from Charles Rogers, who was the 2nd overall pick in 2003. He had a good career with them, but now I believe he is off to a new team. He's with Seattle now. They also drafted Troy Williamson, who is with the Arizona Cardinals. They've had a lot of decent receivers over the years, but Donnie Avery is the one that's long-lasting. He was a first-round pick in 2008. And so they've moved on from their old guard, and they're now having their young guard take on, because Laurent Robinson was a 2007 third-round pick. On their offensive line, right, they have Jones, they have Goodwin, who's 77 overall, and then look at the right side, Alex Mack, 79 superstar, Mike Iupati, who was their first-round pick this year, 23rd overall, Leonard Davis, a 92 right tackle. Their O-line is fantastic, and maybe that is a part of their success. They may not always have the big playmakers, aside from Reggie Bush, but because of their offensive line, they do so well. Last year, mid-year, they traded for Todd Heap from the Baltimore Ravens, which is where their 2nd-round pick went. They also had Zach Miller as one of their tight ends last year, a 4th-round pick, and Sean McHugh. Then on the defense end, we have Kevin Williams being the anchor in the middle in the defensive line. Not Kevin, I'm so sorry. Kyle Williams. Chris Hovan also in there. We see Kalimba Edwards and then Calvin Pace on the outside. Connor Barwin, potential backup, maybe a someday starter, depending on injuries or depending on if maybe like Calvin Pace moves on or Edwards moves on in free agency. Then they have Michael Boley, who is the right outside linebacker, and probably the best defensive pick they had was Lawrence Timmons. Timmons was a first-round pick in 2007, which largely led to the rise of Detroit. And I don't know what it was about that draft, which was Lawrence Timmons, Gerald Alexander, who is a backup there as a strong safety. They had Laurent Robinson, Tony Hunt, Thigpen, Akeem Jordan, who Jordan is there. He's the 72. I think he might be injured. Jordan might also be an option at right outside linebacker. But in that draft, that's when things started to change for them. Again, they were focusing these past few years on O-line with Iupati and Mack. But we see them with Timmons and then Jameel McLean, who was a 2008 middle linebacker, and then Bo Rude. And they've been not high overall, but they've worked fairly well for Detroit, especially with the record they've had. Then they have cornerback Brandon Carr and Bryant McFadden. Thomas rushing as well. They have Will Demps, that's free safety. He benefited a lot from the progression tool. And then Williams, that's strong safety. And they have probably one of the most outspoken punters, Pat McAfee, I believe. And then Bueller at kicker. So let me know what you think of the Detroit Lions. I mean, it's somewhat of a miracle that they win as many games as they do. But they are a top-tier team. Croyle has made the Pro Bowl. And they're just a very interesting team to play with. And Reggie Bush is a major factor in that. So let me know your thoughts about the Detroit Lions.